So, Base 327. If you've been watching my primary channel for a while, you've probably heard me talk about this before. I think I mentioned it in the Q&A video, but I also talked about it on the Brick Film Bros podcast recently. No, but I think the thing that really got me into brick filming, and I've talked about this before, but for the viewer, it was Base 327. So up until that point, I really hadn't thought about Base 327 in a great long while. And it really got me thinking about it again, so I went back and I watched the whole series, and, it's great. So for those of you who weren't children into Legos or Star Wars during the early 2010s, Base 327 is a Lego Star Wars stop-motion series created by Taylor Place Productions. The whole thing is basically a spoof of the Clone Wars. The first episode came out a year after the Clone Wars movie, and while I couldn't tell you if it was the first or not, Base 327 was certainly a major contributor to the clone craze of early 2010 brick filming. Basically from around 2009 to 2013, a great majority of brick films coming out centered around clones. Clone Training Center, Squad 42, you get the picture. A lot of these clone videos were immensely popular, skyrocketing their respective YouTubers to fame in ways that we don't really see anymore. Like, come on, 7 million views on a Clone Wars stop motion? Back then, brick filming was the thing, and Clone Wars was the thing to brick film. And out of it all stepped Base 327. It's weird to think that the new guy, the Base 327 episode that really skyrocketed its fame, is steadily approaching its 11th anniversary. It feels like yesterday I was a wee lad watching these on my mom's iPad, dreaming of the day when I could make videos of such quality and excellence as I saw before me. I mean, that never really happened, but, But I didn't come here to talk about my childhood. I came here to talk about what I consider to be the best episode of Base 327 ever. Mystery at Base 327 was a two-part episode that came out towards the end of the series' tenure. If you were around to watch the updates at the time, Taylor and his friends were getting ready to go off to college, and so decided to cap the series at a certain number of episodes. Mystery at Base 327 actually came about due to a contest that was won by a YouTuber by the name of That Guy 501st. Though I actually wasn't around for the contest while it was taking place, what happened was YouTubers could submit a fan-made Base 327 video to Brick Ultra, the channel that was currently hosting Base 327 at the time. There was a vote, and I believe the top 2 winners would get their video redone by Taylor Place Productions as an actual Base 327 episode. Really kind of a cool contest. I wish I was there to see it. Who knows, maybe they would have taken my dumb ripoff show as the winner. But despite being based off a literal fan fiction, Mystery at Base 327 ended up being unironically the best episode of the show ever, for a number of reasons, all of which I will explain. But obviously I'm going to spoil the whole thing, so if you're even remotely interested, please just go watch the videos. They're really short. I'll leave links in the description. They're great. But for those of you who don't care, or those of you who do care but have already seen it, let's get right into it.
Someone has stolen my lightsaber.
So right off the bat, the central conflict of Mystery at Base 327 is perfect for the show. The Commander's lightsaber is actually a plot point from the very first episode of the show, Christmas at Base 327. In it, Santa Claus dueled General Grievous and effectively killed him. And in New Year's at Base 327, the second episode of the show, Grievous's lightsabers are accidentally thrown out by the janitor. The commander admonishes him for doing this, and as a result, we start the ongoing hatred of the janitor that is seen throughout the show. Since there are 4 lightsabers, 4 clones each get one. The unnamed clone that found them.
Well, who should we give these lightsabers to? I think I should get one since I'm the one that found them.
The commander.
And I should get one since I'm the commander.
Rico, one of the 3 members of Red Squadron.
Oh, can I have one? Well, please, 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 please. Okay, you can have one. Sheesh.
And finally, the excited clone.
Can I have one? Can I have one? Can I have one?
Sure.
Lightsabers, 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 lightsabers. Yeah!
Throughout the rest of the show, the lightsabers don't really feature that prominently, only popping up in a few select occasions. Rico and the Excited Clone's lightsabers pop up in Red Squadron Saves Easter. And the Commander's lightsaber pops up in 2 episodes. First at Christmas at Base 327-2.
Everyone stop it right now or I will cut you up into tiny pieces and throw you down the bottomless pit. Thank you.
And second in ARF Trooper.
Stop it right now or you'll end up like that one guy while we were giving the new guy a tour.
And oh boy, are we gonna talk about that latter appearance very, very soon. The point is that up until this point in the show, the lightsabers have not been major plot points in any way, shape, or form, only appearing nominally in a few cameos just to make sure you remember that they exist, but not really doing anything else besides that. Heck, the unnamed lightsaber clone doesn't even show up in the show again until, guess what episode?
Here, Commander, I think you'll need this.
Thanks, lightsaber clone. Forgot you existed.
Yeah, I forgot I did too.
Anyway, moving on with the plot. The Commander's lightsaber has been stolen, and the Commander entrusts the new guy and ARF with the task of finding the culprit. It's at this point that we get a neat little Red Squadron cameo as the Commander explains that they are currently unavailable to complete the task. This is thematically important because usually Red Squadron is tasked with all the important missions around the base. There are several episodes of the show dedicated towards this, but since it's important for the story for specifically the new guy and ARF to be involved, they needed a reason to get Red Squadron out of the picture.
That's a terrible excuse.
The Commander explains that he has a security camera posted outside his room, and he wants ARF and the new guy to take a look at the footage to see who entered his room that night. Turns out 3 clones did so: Stan, the Excited Clone, and the Janitor. Now it seems likely that these were very deliberate picks on the part of Taylor Place Productions, as each clone could have very logically stolen the lightsaber, just for different reasons. Stan is a newcomer. We don't see him before or after this episode, and therefore we know nothing about him. He could easily steal the lightsaber and no one would be the wiser. However, his alibi was that he was trying to catch his favorite show on the Commander's TV, as the one in his room was broken.
Turns out it's been rescheduled to Sundays.
The Excited Clone is a wild card. We never really quite understand what's going on through his head. He's just crazy, so he could have just stolen the lightsaber out of pure insanity. Though, as Arf explains, he already has a lightsaber.
That's true.
And finally, the Janitor, who, as New Guy points out, has been a hated character ever since pretty much the beginning of the show, giving him a pretty strong motive for taking revenge on the Commander, especially with the very thing that got him into trouble in the first place. The Janitor merely replies that he went into the Commander's room to clean, just as he does every night to every room.
Besides, I didn't see a lightsaber anywhere when I went in there.
Once all 3 suspects have been interrogated, the new guy declares that he has solved the case, and Part 1 of Mystery at Base 327 comes to an end on this note. Part 2 picks up with the entire base assembled to hear the new guy's conclusions on the case. Predictably, considering their history, the Commander automatically assumes that the Janitor is at fault.
Why, Janitor? Why'd you do it?
But the new guy quickly dismisses this notion.
The janitor went in to clean, like he said. If you look closely at the footage, you can see he enters the room with an empty garbage bin and leaves with a full one.
And as for Stan,
He didn't do it either.
I didn't? Oh, phew.
the new guy explains that he checked Stan's TV and it was indeed not working. Jumping the gun once again, the Commander assumes that since the other 2 suspects have been cleared, the Excited Clone must be at fault, but the new guy explains that actually,
The Excited Clone didn't do it either.
he explains that the Excited Clone's habit of drinking sugar every morning means he crashes every night, and therefore is unable to leave his bed due to lack of energy. This conclusion was set up in an introductory scene towards the beginning of the first part. The scene isn't given any special attention or anything, it's just played off as a joke, but considering the rest of the episode, it becomes extremely relevant. So the commander asks the question on everyone's mind. If none of the three did it, then who did? And as New Guy explains that since the excited clone never left his bed, someone must have been impersonating him in the security footage, the pieces all start to fall together. Whoever did it would have needed to have good reason, as well as similar armor to the excited clone in order to impersonate him, but not have knowledge of the excited clone's sugar crush. And so it is revealed that Arf was really the culprit.
You chose the excited clone because you knew he already had a lightsaber, and therefore people wouldn't suspect him.
Now, there's a tendency among mystery stories to only reveal what happened at the end, without giving the audience a way to figure it out beforehand. This is honestly kind of a pet peeve of mine. I don't like watching mystery movies that don't give you an opportunity to figure out the mystery yourself before the main character reveals it at the end. I assume the reason filmmakers tend to do this is because it makes the main character appear smarter than the audience, but at the same time, it sacrifices audience engagement. Thankfully, though, Mystery at Base 327 does not fall into this trap. There are three main hints scattered throughout Part 1 that could easily lead the audience to believe that Arf is the culprit. The first is the aforementioned scene of the excited clone drinking sugar, which sets up the sugar crash reveal at the end. But the second is even more obvious.
Oh, Arf, you painted your armor.
When did you do that?
Last night.
Putting in this scene seems very random at first. It doesn't seem like a very necessary detail, and it kind of just comes out of nowhere. It's not very funny, it's just random. But, in context of the end, it makes a lot of sense.
A clone who tried to throw us off by painting his armor last night? Don't deny it, Arf. You did it.
And the final hint comes during the interrogation scene, where, as I pointed out earlier, Arf is the one to explain that the excited clone already has a lightsaber, covering his trail by exempting the excited clone from doing the crime. But why did Arf do this? Well, the answer comes from the aforementioned Arf Trooper episode of Base 327, where Arf is arrested by the commander for threatening to shoot people with his gun.
Because he put me in obedience school. I saw you swing that lightsaber at me. I wanted revenge.
It really is quite amazing how this one episode ties so many of the previous episodes together in such a smart and well thought out way. It turns out Arf's motivation had been set up long before the episode even started. Anyway, Arf escapes, and the commander eventually catches up with him in a different room. I'm not sure which room it is. This is where we get our little lightsaber clone cameo, which, by the way, is the only other time you see him in the show besides New Year's. So the lightsaber clone gives the commander his lightsaber, and he duels Arf until he is able to disarm him and put him back in obedience school, or jail. The episode ends quickly on that note. So in conclusion, Mystery at Base 327 did more than any other episode in the series, bringing together so many past elements from the show that combined to form this really satisfying, almost conclusive episode to the whole show. Of course, the show would go on for 2 more episodes, and then was rebooted somewhat recently with a couple others. But regardless, Mystery at Base 327 still left a pretty big impact on the show as a whole, at least in my opinion. Well, I think that about wraps things up. Let me know in the comments what your favorite episode of Base 327 is, if you've seen the show at all, that is. And I'll see you next time, hopefully. Please come back.
Oh, will you please turn off that sepia tone? It's giving me a headache. Thank you. Ah, great. I think I've gone colorblind.